Jack of all trades, master of none. You've heard it before, maybe from a teacher, a boss, a parent, or that quiet voice in your own head that whispers whenever you start something new, but don't finish it. It's what people say when they see someone who can do many things, but doesn't seem to specialize in any. It's a phrase that's often meant to sting. A polite way of saying, you lack focus, you can't commit, you're wasting potential. Because in a world obsessed with mastery, to be good at many things somehow means you're not great at anything. But the truth, the full truth, has been forgotten. The real quote is, a jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one. The part that redeems the first half, the part that flips the meaning entirely. When you hear the full version, it's no longer an insult. It's a quiet compliment, a recognition of a rare kind of person, someone curious enough to wander, bold enough to try, someone who refuses to be limited by a single definition. And maybe that's you. Maybe you've spent years trying to fit into a world that keeps asking, what do you do? While you keep wanting to answer, everything a little. You've been told to find your lane, pick your passion, stay consistent, but deep down, you know you're not built for one lane. You're not a straight line, you're a constellation. Every new interest, every skill, every small curiosity adds another star to your sky. And the picture they form is something that only you can see. The reason people fear being a jack of all trades is because they confuse consistency with success. Society celebrates the specialist, the person who dedicates their life to one thing and reaches the top of it, the athlete who breathes their sport, the surgeon who perfects their craft, the coder who speaks in algorithms. They're admirable, no doubt. But that narrative leaves little room for those whose minds wander, whose hearts can't help but stretch toward many directions at once. For generations, our systems were built for specialists. Schools rewarded those who picked a path early. Companies hired people who fit a box. Even relationships began to echo that same rhythm. Find your type, stay your type, never change too much. But the world that built those rules doesn't exist anymore. We're living in an era that changes faster than anyone can master it. Jobs vanish, skills evolve, industries collapse overnight. The person who thrives today isn't the one who knows one thing deeply. It's the one who can learn anything quickly. The jack of all trades used to be the misfit. Now they're the blueprint. The people who can blend art with science, logic with empathy, creativity with practicality. Those are the ones who build what others can't imagine. It's not about knowing everything. It's about seeing how everything connects. When you think about it, the people who shaped the world weren't masters of one. Leonardo da Vinci was an artist, a scientist, an engineer, an inventor. Benjamin Franklin was a writer, philosopher, politician, and experimenter. Even in modern times, people like Steve Jobs merged design, technology, and psychology to create something entirely new. The most innovative thinkers didn't just go deep, they went wide. So when someone tells you that you're spreading yourself too thin, maybe you're not. Maybe you're building bridges while they're digging holes. You might not realize it now, but your curiosity has been preparing you for moments of connection that others can't see yet. Every time you switched interests, every time you learned a new skill that didn't seem useful, you were adding threads to a web you'll one day need. Think about the musician who learned coding for fun and ended up designing music software used by millions. The writer who studied psychology and became a therapist who knows how to heal through words. The photographer who learned business management and turned art into a thriving career. The point isn't the skill itself, it's the way the skills combine. Maybe you've been told you lack discipline because you can't stick to one thing. But the truth is, you're disciplined in a different way. The kind that chases growth, not validation. You learn because you want to understand the world, not because you want a medal. You explore because you're alive, not because someone told you to. There's a quiet power in that. Because when life falls apart, and it always does at some point, you'll adapt faster than most. You've trained for it without realizing it. You've built a flexible mind. When others panic at change, you'll be curious. When others cling to what they know, you'll reach for what you can learn. It's like standing in a forest where the path splits 100 ways. The specialist walks one road and becomes an expert in every stone and branch along it. You, on the other hand, have walked through many paths, maybe not as deep, but far enough to know the terrain. When storms come, when the world shifts, you'll know where the hidden trails lead. To live as a jack of all trades in a specialist world requires both courage and clarity. Courage to keep exploring, and clarity to not get lost in the process. Start by embracing your curiosity without guilt. You're allowed to pivot. You're allowed to outgrow things. You're allowed to change directions even when no one understands why. Curiosity is your compass, not your flaw. Every time you follow that pull, even for a while, you gather something, a perspective, a lesson, a skill that will resurface when you least expect it. But curiosity alone isn't enough. You also need to create a through line, a thread that connects all your experiences. Ask yourself, what am I really seeking in everything I do? Maybe it's freedom, maybe it's expression, maybe it's understanding. When you find that core, every new pursuit becomes another language through which you express the same truth. Then practice what they call selective depth. You don't need to master everything. You just need to dive deep enough to connect it meaningfully. Learn photography well enough to understand light, design enough to understand emotion, psychology enough to understand people. The power isn't in how deep you go. It's in how many perspectives you can bring together. There's also discipline in being a generalist. You can't let curiosity turn into chaos. The trick is to finish small cycles, learn something, apply it, create something tangible, then move on. Leave a trail of completed moments instead of abandoned beginnings. Each one becomes a piece of your mosaic. And most importantly, stop apologizing for being many things. You're not unfocused, you're multifaceted. The world needs people like you, the translators between fields, the connectors between minds, the bridge builders between extremes. Every great innovation was born at a crossroads, not in a tunnel. Picture this. You wake up one day and realize you no longer need to explain yourself. You no longer introduce yourself as someone trying to find their thing. You already have it. Your thing is the act of becoming. You're not defined by a single pursuit, but by a continuous curiosity that keeps you alive. Imagine walking through life without the constant pressure to prove depth. Imagine knowing that your value doesn't lie in being the best at one thing, but in being able to see connections others overlook. When you stop trying to fit into a single definition, life starts to feel lighter. You no longer compare your timeline to others because you finally understand that your journey isn't linear. It's layered, like an unfinished painting that keeps revealing new shades. You stop feeling behind. You start realizing that every detour you ever took gave you something essential. That job you hated taught you patience. That hobby you abandoned gave you a skill you'll someday need. that random course you took out of boredom, will eventually open a door you didn't know existed. You begin to see that nothing was wasted. You were just gathering material. And when you find yourself in a room full of people who each know one thing, you'll notice something interesting. You can talk to all of them. You can find common ground between worlds that don't normally meet. You can make connections, start collaborations, spark ideas. You become the bridge between specialists, the one who makes the orchestra play together. That's what being a jack of all trades truly means. It's not being less, it's being more adaptable, more creative, more whole. You see the bigger picture. You move between roles fluidly. You understand that your worth isn't measured by how sharp your single edge is, but by how many ways you can shape it. And when life changes, as it always does, you don't crumble. You simply turn, shift, adapt, because you've spent your life learning how to start again. So the next time you hear that phrase, jack of all trades, master of none, remember that it was never meant to be a warning. It was meant to be a celebration of balance. It acknowledges that while you may not go the deepest in one thing, you often see farther because you stand on many. You are the kind of person who thrives in transition. You don't panic when the ground moves beneath your feet. You dance with it. You don't chase one perfect identity. You let yourself evolve through many. You've tasted enough to know that mastery isn't a destination. It's the art of staying curious, no matter how much you've already learned. In a world that keeps shouting, find your niche, maybe your power is that you don't have one. You are the niche. You're the living proof that curiosity can build a life just as strong as specialization, maybe stronger. Because when the world changes, you change with it. So take pride in being the one who learns, who explores, who connects. You're not less focused, yet you're simply more expansive. You don't need to master one trade. You've mastered the art of growth itself. Jack of all trades, master of none, though oftentimes better than a master of one. The forgotten ending, the part that was lost, just like the parts of yourself you once thought were mistakes. But they weren't mistakes. They were seeds. And now, looking back, you can see how every one of them bloomed. You were never scattered. You were collecting light. And now, all those scattered stars finally form a constellation, one that carries your name.